Hi, I'm Kurt Fernley, and this is 1+1 Plus Crocs. We're at Australia's Zoo, and this is Robert Irwin.
So what we'll do here is we kind of try and replicate that sort of natural behaviour. So I'm kind of making a little splash, coming in to have a drink, and he's picking up on the vibrations sent out by my feet. See how he's getting all that movement from his tail? He's getting excited because he can feel exactly where I am. Now he'll set up with all 4 feet planted. He'll open his eyes and then he'll come for that strike. Up here, mate. Here you go, big boy. So that's the hit. He's very quick on a dime, and he's got a bit of go on land as well. The interesting thing with Bosco is that he's a very athletic croc.
Robert Irwin, welcome to 1+1.
Thanks so much, mate. I'm stoked to be here.
Having just seen you up close and personal with the Crocs, I find it terrifying. But it
So do I.
yeah, like it looks like you're bored for it. It looks like you're so comfortable in there.
Mate, if anyone says they aren't scared when they're feeding a crocodile, they're kidding themselves. Mate, I'm the first one to admit, every time you get in there, your adrenaline levels are just through the roof, and it takes a while to come down off of that. It really does. But mate, it's so much fun. It's such a, I don't know, it's such a primal feeling, you know. It's that flight or fight response. You're one-on-one with pretty much the most pound-for-pound, most powerful predator on the face of the earth. It's a humbling experience. It makes you feel very, very small and insignificant, I'll tell you that. But I love crocodiles so much, and it's an adrenaline rush every single time. So good.
Well, I actually did recognise a little bit of that, that adrenaline, that anxiety. Do you like that, though, a little bit?
Love it. I live for it. Mate, I live for it, 100%. That's the spice of life, you know? When you're constantly pushing yourself, you know, when you're taking on a new challenge and really, you just got to take it in your stride, and you've got to give it 100%. And dealing with a dangerous animal, dealing with a croc, it's like anything. You start to learn the rules among dealing with that animal. And that moment when you're standing there, you know, you notice how it's that vibration. Anything that they feel, they key onto it. You get that vibration going, get them to put a strike on, and that second where you watch their eyes pop up and their eyes just go woof, they get huge and they're like, yeah. And then they put on that huge hit, and you just feel the entire world disappears. It's just you and Bosco, you know, it's you and him. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's amazing, you know. It's like your dog or your cat at home. You form a connection with these animals. I love them so much. It's deeper. It's a deeper connection than, you know. I can't go over and give him a pat. He'll eat me. But
I was going to say, it's not like my Groodle at home.
Not exactly, but it is this one-on-one connection you form. He loves using all of these instincts to come out and try and eat you. You know, it's a great day for him. Plus, most importantly, our crocs have a great time, and we can teach people about just how awe-inspiring these animals are. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's an honour, and most of all, I feel closest to Dad when I'm in there feeding crocs. Mate, you can feel his presence, and you can really feel close to his legacy when you're in there working with the very same crocodiles that he did. It's a meaningful thing.
Because some of those crocs have been in there since the start of the park, right?
Exactly, yeah. So the interesting thing is, originally, my dad did a lot of crocodile rescue and crocodile relocation. That was how he formed his amazing skills and became the most highly skilled human being on the planet when it came to crocs. He was amazing, but it was all about rescuing crocs. He would spend years on end out in the bush, completely disconnected from the natural world. At literally age 20, he'd be out there just living off the land. It was just him, his dog, and his swag, and he'd be out there setting crocodile traps. Just, I mean, if he wanted to feed, he'd have to go to the creek and catch a fish. Like, he's living like Tarzan. And he'd go out and find the crocodiles that people wanted dead. Akko, you saw, he's got an amazing story. He was in a region called Cattle Creek, an amazing, really kind of deep, dark region of northern Australia where there's big, gnarly crocs. He was just this ghost. Everyone knew him in the area, and everyone had a lot of fear for this croc. Big, dark, just monster crocodile. And he started taking people's cows. People didn't like that. So they were going to kill him, and Dad spent 2 years straight reading the river, staying on that river every single day, because crocs are hard to catch, mate. And after many, many, many years, he caught this croc, much to his disappointment. He didn't want to remove this beautiful big croc from the ecosystem, but he managed to catch a 16-foot croc all on his own, bring it back to Australia Zoo, and that was 40 years ago. This croc was known as one of the big old boys. He could be 100 years plus, and now I get to go in there with him every single day and spend time with him. And you look back at the old footage of Dad getting in there feeding Acco. I get to go in and do the same thing. Fills my heart with a lot of pride, and more than anything, I'd hope he'd be proud. But it's impressive, isn't it, when you get to see him firsthand? How's that jaw pop? Did you notice that?
I noticed it.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
It sounded like a car crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible. What about growing up in the zoo?
Yeah.
You mentioned about, your dad growing up in the bush, but you grew up in this place that just seems like a bit of a wonderland.
Oh, it is.
But is it all the exciting playing with crocs, or is it picking up croc poo as well?
Yeah, mate, it's all of that. It's all of that. Absolutely, yeah. It comes with its challenges, It comes with its challenges, but I live the kind of life that I think most kids would absolutely just dream of. It's a huge honour. I feel like the luckiest kid in the world. Growing up in a zoo, it does not get much better than that. And some of my earliest memories are the most just ridiculous. One of my earliest memories was pretty funny. This was back in the day. We first gotten our tigers at Australia Zoo, right? And this is a good example of what my dad was like as well. Just a force of nature. Never knew what was going to happen. He would get up at 2 a.m. every morning. Anyway, it was about 6 a.m. He bashes on the door at our house. We live right in zoo grounds. And he's like, "Oh, Terry, Bindi, Bob, get out here. I got a surprise for you." So we walk outside, and under the clothesline is a Sumatran tiger just sitting under the clothesline, right? And we're like, "All right, okay." And he's like, "We've got tigers now." And we're like, "Okay, cool, that's awesome, good to know." So that was what it's like living at the zoo. Every morning, he'd load us up onto his motorbike. We'd go around, do the morning checks. We'd have ice cream for breakfast, and then we'd jump in and let the wombats out for the morning and play around with them, and then we'd go wrangle a snake. It's just go every day. And the amount of life lessons I learnt living in this kind of environment, every day you learn from your mistakes, you learn from the trials and tribulations, and more than anything, my family in this environment has instilled this ethos to treat all living beings how you want to be treated.
Well, tell me about your mum. She a single mother, 2 kids.
Oh.
She managed this zoo, but beyond that, it's like an entire Irwin brand around the world as well.
Yeah. I cannot tell you how much just respect and admiration I have for my mum. And I don't think I really fully understood, fully grasped what a powerful human being and brave human being she is and was until I really started to kind of step into adulthood, like in my teenage years, and now I'm officially an adult, which is so surreal. It feels so weird, it feels wrong. But I realise now and only now what she's been through, like raising children. For mum to do that, of course, without dad, and to lose this sounding board, the person who you count on like that, I mean, the rug's just taken out from under you. I am so impressed that not only did she raise us kids, she could have sold the zoo and just raised us, and we just squirreled away and lived a little hidden life. That's not the wrong thing to do. If you experience a loss and you just want to live your own little life, that's perfectly fine. But she could see this legacy that he started, and she said, "You know what? I'm making sure that this is going to continue and grow and get bigger and better every single year." And she did just that. So she raised us. She kept the zoo going through some tough times. And I get emotional just thinking about it, you know. She's just an absolute Wonder Woman, a force of nature. And, you know, everyone saw Dad as this larger-than-life character, which he was in real life, 120% every single day. But, you know, Mum's the one who's kept it going. It's pretty special.
What about boundaries when you are growing up in the park? Now, my mum, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
But I had boundaries, right? There was a river that I wasn't allowed to cross. There was a border on that edge of the property that we couldn't go past.
Yep.
What sort of boundaries did your mum give you in the zoo?
You can't feed crocs till you're 10 years old. That was the biggest one. From the time I could talk, right, I'm like, when can I feed a crocodile? When can I feed a crocodile? Is it today? Can I feed a crocodile yet? It was just constant. Poor thing. She was just hounded every day. Because, you know, from a young age, the first time I ever got taken in with a crocodile, I was a month old. Wasn't controversial at all, was it? So, you know, I've always had a connection with these animals. It's a part of me. It's a connection to Dad. And Dad instilled from a very young age just a love for crocs, right? So, which you can see. I mean, you saw it today. I love them so much. And it's funny. I lost Dad at a young age, but it's almost like his passion was there for my formative years. For my earliest memories, it was just saturated with his enthusiasm, his passion. And so I feel like that's just factory settings for me, is that same kind of enthusiasm and spark and passion. So poor Mum, it was just, I need to feed a crocodile. so that was the biggest boundary. She was like, right. She thought long and hard and she went, okay, once you turn 10, you can run quick enough. You've got enough brain power in there. I trust you. Once you get to double digits, you can start feeding crocodiles. So for my 10th birthday, that was my gift. She said, all right, it's in the Crocodile. There's 5,000 people there, right? I felt like Gladiator, you know, stepping into the Colosseum. And little 10-year-old Robert, I'm just filled with excitement. Best day of my whole life, right? And I step out there. I still remember it. It was Monty. I fed Monty. He comes out, I've got my piece of food, I've got my backup right there, like grabbed onto my shirt, you know, just to make sure. And I get out there, I throw him the piece of food. I wasn't pushing it as close as I do these days, mind you. And it was a very proud moment. But stuff like that is, it's a different kind of milestone, you know. When you grow up in the country, you grow up in the bush, you grow up in a zoo, it's different. You know, you learn the rules of working in this kind of environment. You know, it's similar to the road rules. It was always, you know, from a young age, Mum would always say, you know, this is a hot snake, can't touch that one. Don't touch this one. That means it's venomous, right? So that was, okay, don't touch the venomous ones. And she'd say, this one is non-venomous. That's a python. You can go for that. You know, so from the time I'm 3 years old, it's these kind of lessons. That snake you can't touch, that one you can, you know. But how did you find that, like, growing up on a farm like that and out in the country, like, did you find a similar thing?
Avoid the pointy end of snakes.
Yes, that's a big one.
That's probably the biggest
one.
It was always be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah,
That's probably the most. And if you're nervous, just make as much noise as you possibly can and make your way back home. That was probably the best advice that I ever got. Most of wildlife where I grew up wanted to avoid you.
Exactly.
But with you weren't just navigating the farm, you were navigating a world, right? Like you're navigating Jimmy Fallon. You know, honestly, I've never laughed so much as that footage of you introducing Kevin Hart to with animals.
So this is Big Red. So
no, stay right there.
She's a red-kneed tarantula. She's so cool.
Hey, man.
Are you sure?
No.
She's beautiful. She's great.
I'm be honest with you. You better stay your ass over there, man. He's 14 years old.
Yeah, wasn't that fun?
Oh, mate, it was so much fun.
That was a good night.
You're seeing someone's fear, but you know they're safe.
Yeah.
For some reason, that just makes it. It makes it amazing.
But that's what it's all about, is introducing wildlife to those who might not really love wildlife. Like for you and me, you know, talking to you, you've grown up around wildlife. We've got that that understanding, that respect, and you know how to live out in the country and out in nature. But for a lot of people, they just don't experience that. So doing things like the Tonight Show with Fallon and getting to introduce people to these animals who are pretty fearful. It's funny, but it's also pretty special. You know, it's cool. And he came around to it after a while. But
does your mum, does she give you like, oh yeah, you talk about this kind of thing?
Yeah. See, this is the interesting thing. Navigating that kind of public eye world, it's crazy, and you would know that. You know, we both sort of know what that world is like. It's far more challenging than coming up against a crocodile. That's for sure, mate. It was interesting. My mum was always really passionate to say, that, you know, it's your call. It's on your terms, and you do what you want to do. I feel really bad, particularly in Australia. There was always so much scrutiny around, you know, as with anything, the way a parent raises a child. I don't know why we have this backwards notion that we feel entitled, that we get to judge everything a parent does. You know, it's really silly. But the thing is with Mum, she was always saying, you know what, you follow your own path. If this isn't for you, if the zoo world isn't for you, that's fine. If you want to go be an astronaut, go for it. But that's never been a question for me. This isn't what I do. This is who I am. I've always just absolutely loved every part of what I get to do. And dealing with the public eye, Mum gave me so much advice in you know, how to manage that. Because it's a tough thing when you're growing up and every little thing you do could be on the front page of the news. You know,
how much of yourself do you share? You know, like how do like?
It's interesting in a way, so much, and then in a very real way, I'm a very private person in my personal life. You know, we will have a documentary series, you know, that'll go to millions and millions of people, but when we're at home at the zoo, when it's me, my mum, my sister, my brother-in-law Chandler, when it's, and of course Grace now, my little niece, when it's us, it's just us. You know, no one really comes into our actual house at the zoo. It's a little cave, a little escape, you know, from the world. And it's so important through all the crazy stuff that you go through in life, through loss, through grief, through the ups, the downs, the public eye scrutiny, you have to have your core group of people. You've got to have your people who have your back, who know your true north, know what you're about, and are always there for you. And my family's just that, particularly my mum. She's just a guiding light for me, and she is so open about talking about Dad as well, which I love. Dad's always been part of my life. Lost him at 2, but you know, she's always telling stories and always wants him to be part of every day. And you walk around the zoo, you feel him, you see him everywhere. You know, as a kid growing up, I remember 3, 4 years old, she'd show the old documentaries of Dad. You know, she'd be like, look, every morning I go, I want to watch a Daddy doco. You know, and she'd put it on, and it was just this form of connection. And you know, she, as I started to get older, you know, you learn these lessons of, listen, this is just the reality of it. You know, when you go out in the world, you know, 100 people then want to come and say good day and take a photo with you, and it's always been part of my life and always been something I've navigated. But it's all thanks to my mum that I can hopefully take it all in my stride and navigate it well. It's a weird world, but on the other hand of being in that public eye, I also feel a great deep responsibility to not take that for granted and to not throw that away. I want to spread a message of hope, a message of conservation, to talk about big environmental issues. I want to use this platform to make a difference. And that was all my family instilling that into me, to say, mate, you've got a platform, you're in the public eye, you can use that for good. And it's a special thing. So, and it's exactly what you do, mate. You know, I honestly, mate, I follow what you do, and it's meaningful, it's inspiring, it's positive, and it's awesome to watch, man.
I don't deal well with praise, so I'm going to switch this around.
That's fine. No, that's fine. You don't need to. It's all good. But
well,
you understand that, you know?
With that conversation, is that why photography is so important to you?
Yeah.
I've seen some of your photos, and they're just
Thanks, mate.
incredible. But is
Appreciate that.
Is that the pathway that you get to share, and you get to show a part of the world that many people may not have seen?
Exactly, yeah. And you know what? Photography has become my sort of individual way to carry on my family's legacy, you know, because I can showcase the beauty of nature and also the stark contrast of this is what's at stake. This is what's happening. You know, when we had our bushfire crisis, I was down in Kangaroo Island with a team from Australia Zoo rendering aid with the armed forces and with the amazing wildlife carers down there to try and just recover from absolute Armageddon. And you'd walk out there, step out of the army rig, and you look at this barren wasteland and there's just dead, singed koala bodies as far as the eye can see. And you just see that and you go, you got a camera with you. And I just took heaps of photos. One of those images was awarded in a photography, you know, big gallery thing. And when you can get an image like that from the front line and say, hey guys, listen, this is what we're fighting for. This is what's at stake. I mean, we're losing an Australian icon right before our eyes. It's time to start addressing climate change. Now is the time. So if I can use photography, my passion, my artistic kind of mind to forge ahead my mission, then I'm doing my job, and it's a great honour to do that. So,
how do you feel in that advocacy role? Like, you seem so comfortable around a croc. But how do you feel, like, speaking publicly and creating this platform that is encouraging the world to kind of join you in our space?
It's daunting. It can definitely be daunting because it's actually a very polarising thing. When you start talking about climate change, it's a very polarising thing. It's sadly still to this day, there's a lot of people who just don't want to believe it. They just want to say, it doesn't exist, it's all too big, it's all too much, I can't do anything about it. No, just no, you know? And so if you want to stand up and be vocal about things like climate change, you know, and the like, these big issues that are controversial, looking at habitat destruction and saying, you know, we're expanding and growing at an unsustainable rate. If you want to really start pinpointing the big issues facing the world, you're going to face a lot of scrutiny. So it is daunting standing up and saying that, especially for me at a young age. Sometimes, you know, there's people far older than me who've had even more, you know, life experience. But, you know, you've really got to just find that confidence within yourself. You got to take that leap. You got to jump off the mountain, and you just got to stick to your guns and try and affect as much positive change as you can, because we don't know how long we're around. Who knows, I could be dead tomorrow. So I just want to spread as much positivity and get that word out there to as many people as I can.
Does that have a bit of pressure to it? Do you feel the pressure?
Yeah, absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. It's impossible not to feel a sense of responsibility and a sense of pressure. Even just in the fact that, you know, I have a platform, and so I sort of have this responsibility to make change. You know, this is my thing. This is what I do, and it can be hard to navigate that world and to be in the public eye, because it's funny for me. I want to go out and say, you know, I want to use my platform to make change and say, oh, let's talk about climate change, let's save this species, let's do this, let's do that. And then in the tabloid, it's like, you know, Bindi Irwin's pregnant with her 5th child or whatever, or Robert's married whoever. I'm like, mate, I'm 18, that's not happening. Or, you know, Terry Irwin's having an affair with Prince Charles, or now King Charles. That's real, by the way. That's actually happened. Like, the stuff that you see is so funny. So sometimes you just go, I'm just here for the wildlife. I'm here to spread a message about conservation. So there is sometimes a lot of pressure when you go to the grocery store and there's paparazzi taking photos of you, and it can get to you sometimes.
Well, how do you remain to be you in the middle of that?
Oh, it's the people around you. It is, and that's what I think about every day. It's the people around you. It's your support unit, and it's also it's being able to laugh at yourself as well. It's being able to go, you know, that's the fluff, that's the opinionated stuff. People will always have their point of view, but as long as you know your direction, you know your mission, you know your purpose, you know the message you want to get out there, that anxiety of being in the public eye, it quickly fades away when you know your mission, you know what you want to get to. And I'm very lucky that I found my purpose in life from a young age, you know.
I feel like I never met your dad, but I feel like a huge bunch of the country. It's like he had this real visceral relationship with you.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that space where it's like you share, you know, the legacy of your father with the world.
Yeah. That's a funny thing, and you know, it's interesting. A lot of people ask me about that. You know, it must be challenging when you're constantly reminded of your dad. You know, and everyone, you walk down the street and people will stop you and go tell a story about the effect that Dad had on them.
Well, I saw when you were with the crocodile. I just I could see your dad. You know, like it's just.
Thank you.
That I get chills about it because it was like looking back in time.
You know, that's the thing. When I hear something like that, that is the greatest compliment I can receive. 100%. That's the greatest thing anyone can ever say. If someone says, you know, oh man, you just remind me so much of your dad when you did this, or what was it like when your dad did that, or and there are people who said, oh, you know, I met your dad once when I visited the zoo and he was just so passionate and he did this and he did that. It gives me a little piece of him back, you know, every time I hear a story like that. It goes straight to my heart and it means the absolute world, because every new story I hear, every time someone has that connection to Dad, you know, I feel that even greater. I feel that connection to him even more. It's a very, very special thing. He just showed us the value of living 100% every single day, because, you know, it's something I think about. Losing someone close to you at a young age suddenly, it makes you think that the fragility of life and how fleeting it really is. You know, it goes by like that. And so we can't delay. You know, we have to live our lives to the fullest. We have to surround ourselves with the people we love. We got to support the people we love, and we got to put in that time. And Dad, more than anything else, was all about family. So, you know, especially close to the end of his life, he spent so much time with my sister and I. In amongst the craziness, the action, there was always time for us kids, no matter what, always there for us. And, you know, he was just 100% about family, and that means so much to me. And, yeah, you know, anytime I get that a comparison to Dad, it's amazing.
It's hard to... You're right.
Yeah, mate, 100%, yeah.
It's hard to even comprehend your journey so far. Like when we met, I felt like I knew you. And I find it tough to get my head around that you're only 18 and you have this massive future ahead of you. Like it's exciting to think about what contribution you'll make and what impact you'll make. But where do you see the path for Robert Irwin?
Oh, mate, where do I start? I have just a massive just drive. I feel like there's just such a fire in my belly. Every morning when I wake up, I want to seize the day. I want to take on every challenge. I want to try everything. I want to do absolutely everything I can to continue this mission, to continue this legacy, and to find my own path, to forge my own path. That's what it's all about for me. With everything going on in the world, with you know, I feel like our planet Earth needs an advocate from the next generation. Our planet Earth needs someone, a young, fresh perspective to come in here and say, listen, this is what needs to be done. And to bring the beauty and wonder of our natural world to the world. And I feel like that's my place. So I want to tackle that in front of the camera and behind the camera. You know, I want to carry on in my dad's footsteps. I want to start doing the same sort of documentary shows he was doing. I want to, you know, which I've gotten to do a lot of in my career, in my life, which has been awesome. But I want to take on bigger opportunities. I want to have a global voice and to be able to spread this message to everyone on planet Earth. You know, you got to stand up for what you believe in. You got to live every day to the fullest. And I want to take on every single challenge, mate. World domination. Let's go.
Well, I'm on board. I can't wait to see what's next.
I'm excited.
Thanks for joining me on 1+1.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Absolute honour. You're welcome back here anytime, and get you in there feeding crocs next time. Cheers, legend. It's been awesome.